Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
To the second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. We've got Devin Board with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
April 29th, 2024. What's going on? We are the Turn 2 Terribles. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, I am Jimmy. This is Chris and Jay-Z. We had a couple things to go over, but first, before we go over this past weekend, we're going to bring on Wyatt Hinkle. He is actually in the intro there, setting up pits on the front stretch. And we're going to bring him back on, and we're going to talk about his season so far and what the future looks like for him. And then we'll go over all this past weekend's events. Williams Grove, Keith Kaufman Classic at Port Royal, BAPS yesterday. And then we got a big weekend coming up, nationally and locally, race-wise. So we're going to talk about all that. As always, put your comments and questions in the chat. We see you guys in there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brad, Randy, Aunt Bay, Matthew, Tyler, all you guys, that tune in every week. We really appreciate it. And also, first, before we get into everything, this wouldn't be possible without the help of Gusthall's Automotive. They are the go-to for all your automotive needs. 632 South Catherine Street in Middletown. Anything that you need, inspections or repairs, whatever, go to them. Call for an appointment, 717-944-6888. That's 717-944-6888. Fellas, how you guys doing?
I mean, I'm good. I got to be honest. We have a lot of cool fans. We have a lot of cool people that kind of watch this. I don't know why I don't know, call them fans. I think they're us. We're fans. But Creek Burger has to be the best fan name we have.
What's up, brother?
This guy's name is Creek Burger. That's fantastic. What's going on, Creek? I don't know if I've seen you in the chat before or in our lives before, but what's up, brother? Welcome in, man. Appreciate you joining in.
Yeah, I mean, echo that. It's kind of cool going to racetrack and, people recognize us for whatever reason. We're just a bunch of simple folk wandering around racetracks acting like we know what we're doing. But it's really cool, and it's kind of why we keep doing it. I mean, last year we saw a lot of it, and early this year, same thing. So happy to be here.
Yeah,
I'm glad, and he works on Wyatt's team. Someone has to work on that team. So I see Wyatt half the time he's wandering around socializing, up in the trailer, acting like he's doing something, but we know better. So
Waving hands and kissing babies, Jeremy. Get it right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's let him not take shots here. Let's bring him on.
I just want to leave him backstage now and just take shots at him the whole time. Don't even bring him up here.
Let's bring him on, Wyatt Hinkle, everybody. Wyatt, thank you very much for joining us. How you doing tonight? Good.
Good. How are you guys?
There we go.
Hopefully you don't lag like you just did there. Unless you're just a little slow. I don't know. Could be either. What's going on, bro?
I don't know if I keep lagging because I know I'll have to move.
Hey, welcome back. First of all, another multi-time guest here. You got some racing in this past weekend. I heard some 358 teams kind of, were late to the party a little bit here. I talked to a couple. Were like, man, if I knew that was going on, I probably would have gone down there, right? With Lincoln canceling and just other things kind of going on. So, I'll get back to what the rest of the season is held. But tell us a little bit about this past weekend. What track did you go to, and what was your experience like? Did you hear any of that? He's on the move.
He's on the move trying to get some.
1 second here.
This is amazing.
While he tries to get adjusted here. See you guys comment.
Sorry, had to switch sides there. So we went down to Delaware International. We went down to Delaware International yesterday, kind of on a whim. Aunt Bay told us that they were, thinking about going out there yesterday with the way the weather was looking. And I saw a little bit late, actually, that Lincoln had canceled. So saw they canceled, and we real quick made a decision to get finished up and head down that way. So we got there kind of late. It was definitely a different track. It's real flat and like long straights, tight corners, but flat and just laid out way different than anything that we got here, kind of. And just didn't really know where to start there. But it was fun being able to just kind of like make that decision to get out and go race somewhere that we haven't even seen before that day.
All right, so you pull in. Obviously, it's different. No setup notes. No nothing to go off of. What you go out in hot laps? Did you have any idea? Were you close to anything comfortable in hot laps, or were you completely guessing, going, "Okay, we got to try something different"?
We kind of had an idea of what we wanted to try to do setup wise, so that made it a little bit easier. But once I got on the track for hot laps, it was, kind of just idling around looking for what I'm gonna, consider my marks to be, and then just I feel like we were pretty close as far as like where we needed to be. But it, it's still just different. Like the corner entry was like real long and straight and fast, but then like mid corner, you're, backing it up, trying to get it turned. It's just really something.
Just different. Okay. So tell us how the racing went, because I saw your post and it looked like it was eventful. So tell us how the rest of it went once you got going.
Yeah, our part of it was eventful. The whole show seemed to be moving really well. They actually run a really quick and pretty orderly show out there, which was, pretty cool to see. But after the heat race, we started 16th in the feature. I stayed pretty committed to the bottom. Just everybody else was up top. I kind of committed to the bottom, but I tried to get up the top, and I just wasn't quite where I felt like we needed to be as far as setup to go, just run as hard as they were on the top and keep up with them. So, I stayed on the bottom, picked a few off here and there. Restarts, I could usually get under a car or two and, get going and keep them behind me. But, so ended up finishing 7th at the line.
So with the surface, somebody wrote here, it was kind of a sandy, kind of dirty racing surface. Did you feel like you had enough motor and car to kind of hang with the URC 360 stuff? Was it small enough that the long straightaways you didn't get hurt by that, or did you feel? What did you think about that?
Yeah, actually, like with the way the track was, it got. I wouldn't say it was like bone dry, nothing to it, but it slicked off pretty quick. And honestly, I don't think having less power hurt us. If anything, it might have helped us just a little bit on those, starts getting up off the bottom and stuff. But the long straights maybe a little bit, but I think we had plenty to keep up with them. And like I said, we came forward, so I don't think we were hurting too bad in that aspect.
So let's go back and congratulations. That's a hell of a run for the first time being at a racetrack and moving forward. And that I don't think that's pretty good field of cars, really. I mean, you got the URC guys and you had some 358 guys that went out. So tell us a little bit about how the season's gone so far for you. I know there's been some ups and some downs, and really haven't raced a whole lot yet. So tell us a little bit about how 2024 started.
2024 started pretty well, actually. Our first night at Lincoln, we had a kind of bad pill draw and, kind of kept coming forward all night. Ended up 6th, I think. We were up to 2nd at one point, fighting for the lead, but just kind of a little bit too good too early in the feature. Next race at BAPS, just started 2nd or 1st in the heat race. I forget what. Led most of it, ended up 2nd, and then slowing down in the heat race, spit a push rod. And then we went to the Grove in Lincoln after that, and just, pretty solid runs, not setting the world on fire, but coming forward. And then last night, actually, during the hot laps and heat race, we spit a push rod during both of them. And in between hot laps and heat race, we replaced a push rod and all that and did the same thing in the heat and the feature. So we've had solid runs coming forward, but, I think we have a car that's able to be up front. We just need to catch some luck here.
So spitting push rods, that's three and not a lot of time. Do you think there's something more to that you're gonna have to get torn down and send out, or is that just bad luck? Like I'm stupid. So what do I not know?
No, we're talking with the engine builder right now. Daryl commented. We're talking with the engine builder right now. We're probably just going to replace all the push rods and the adjuster cups on the rockers. I don't think there's like a super deep issue. Maybe just a little bit of a bad batch of push rods or something, but nothing that's not, I feel like, is fixable. Just that first time seemed like a one-off, but after Saturday, it's kind of like, okay, there's something there. Like, let's make a wholesale change to try and fix that. You know what I mean?
So with that change, will you have enough time to get all that done and be ready for Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, that you're looking pulling rockers and pulling the push rods out, putting new push rods in, putting the rockers back on. You're looking at, if you're taking your good old time, about an hour. It's not adjusting them is going to take longer than actually changing them.
Got it. So the parts are available. It's nothing like a cylinder head or some major components. You can get these parts.
Yeah, you can get them, and they're easy to change. Just kind of like while we're doing our regular maintenance. I adjust valves every race, so it's just pulling the rockers then and putting new push rods in.
All right. So I do want to talk about what Daryl brought up here about your no nose B main. We have a picture of it here. Jimmy found and decided to put up, and you decided to do the wingless, or you decided to do the sportsman way in the B main that night. So I was standing off 3 and 4, and I think I talked to you, and you kind of explained what happened, but I still don't understand how this happened. So this was on a second restart, right? There was already one full start, and that one was clean. This time you're on the front row, if I'm correct, on the B main. So
Yeah.
Tell us how this shit show started.
So yeah, like you had said, the initial start came back. And then as we were coming to the line the second time, I kind of drifted up and so did the leader, and we both got on it, and he came up across a little bit, and we touched, but with how we were kind of lined up, right rear to left front, as soon as we touched, he just kind of climbed over the whole front end of it. It's a racing thing. It happens. I'm not going to sit here and say that somebody was in the wrong for it. Just it's easier just to move on. But so yeah, that happened, and then somebody actually ran up over the left rear then when that was going on, and that bent the left rear rim and gave me a flat and stuff. So I stopped, got out, walked around a little bit, kind of checked out. I'm like, oh, I think we might be able to get this fixable enough to get back out here. Hop back in, got in the pits. They changed that left rear, and I was talking to the guys at the front, like, is it gonna fold back? And they're like, yeah, it's gonna. I'm like, okay, they need to get it off, and they got it off. Left rear changed, and we were back on track.
So you come back out on the racetrack, and obviously, I think you knew the competition who was in that B main. There were some fairly slow cars in that B main, and you're taking your shot. You get back to third place while you're driving and racing, and you're chasing down second. Did you know that in third you were going to make the A main at that point, or were you still trying to get second, saying I got to be top two?
Well, I knew there was a chance that being third could get me in. I wasn't 100% sure. So like out there, I was like, I need to get to third for sure, to at least get a chance. And if I'm with those top two, maybe, make a bid for second to try and for sure get in. But yeah, it was one of those things, I wasn't going to, make it worse than the car already was, by doing something stupid. But I knew that I had to at least get back to third to give ourselves a chance, and kind of leave it up in fate's hands at that point.
And as fate would have it, you do make the A main by finishing third in your B main, which took the top two. So one of our frequent friendly guests there, Aunt Bay, because him and his team are stupid, you got to get into the A main. So by technicality, and we actually talked about this that week out on the show about how you got in, and I make fun of Ant, but he can take it. So
he helped me change the left rear.
He's a big boy.
He helped me change the left rear, let me get back up to third to make. He helped me change the left rear that let me make the A main too. So
he wanted to be responsible for somebody getting in the A main. Yeah, take some credit for somebody getting in the A. So you get in the A, you kind of do your thing there. So definitely been an up and down season. I'll be honest, that first race, I think, was it the first race at Lincoln where you were like up to second and challenging for the lead? Was that opening night for you guys?
Yeah, that was opening night. We ran started I think 5th or 6th. Got to second racing for the lead there. And that's, like I had said earlier, just kind of, car was a little bit too good too early. So kind of faded at the end of it. But we were there.
I thought if you got the lead there, you were going to win that race. And I thought even after, I think Yellow came out, or, Fletcher maybe have gotten back by you. And then I think he may have had a wreck or fell back. Like, I thought you were going to have that thing won, man. Like, you were ripping at the start. So definitely encouraged. You got to be encouraged by some of the speed early in the season, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially coming off the last 2 years that we've had, 2 years ago, the end of it was kind of good, but last year was just kind of, a grind. We weren't really going anywhere ever, typically starting and kind of going backwards a little bit, or just, trying to hold on to where we were. So coming out early this year, with some speed and being able to go forward, and, even a bad pill draw isn't really stopping us. Like, it's really encouraging.
And this will be my last one. So if you're racing this year, you have obviously you've done some Williams Grove, you're going to do Lincoln, you're going to do a little bit of kind of here and there if there's opportunities. Obviously, you want to win a race anywhere. If there's a track this season you want to win a race at that you're going to race at, what's the one that would mean the most to you?
That would mean the most, probably, I'd love to get a win at Williams Grove. I've gotten a couple at Lincoln so far. I'd also like to get one at Baps, but that's because they have the sub, and like I really want that sub. Like, I've been seeing it since I was a little kid, and like I want to win a sub whenever we go race at Baps. Actually, I'll say, they're all special for a certain reason. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to rank one above the other, but if Williams Grove would be an amazing track to win at just because of the history and, the people that have won there before. And, it's a big track. It's fun. It's fast. It's technical. You know what I mean? So that's, if I had to pick one, Williams Grove, but I'd like to win at any of them for a number of reasons.
It's funny you mentioned the sub last night, Victory Lane, Billy Pouch Jr., who doesn't get to race a lot at BAPS anymore. He's like, man, I love coming here. He's like, my guy's really like, I was like, okay, weird, but okay. I like go you do you, Billy Pouch. So like, obviously it's a tradition. It is a tradition, but I never really put it in context. Like, guys want to win that damn sub. Like, that's pretty cool for sure. So, Jimmy, Chris, what do you got?
I just want to say why it's my favorite now because Williams Grove, best track.
You're
That's
back.
all.
You're back to the Williams Grove
back
being your
to
favorite
Williams
track
Grove
again,
train.
Chris? Or
Yes.
you should try to go there once this year.
Shh. I've been there once for the Sportsman's. Go ahead,
Of
Jimmy.
course. Go
Hey,
ahead.
so we were there that night when you're the whole B main fiasco, and you're basically running a super sportsman out there. With the damage, obviously, if you had a full car, you probably feel like you probably get up into that top two and no problem. But what was the car doing after that wreck that maybe helped, hurt you from getting to the second or first spot?
I mean, it would push on corner exit, more than I was ready for. And I couldn't really, I was tight at the start of it, it was just the wing, but as the track was slicking off to that B main a little bit, like I couldn't pull my wing more. I pulled it once and like it made it a little bit better, but the next time I pulled it, it started trying to, pick the nose end of the car up. So I couldn't really adjust anything. It was just kind of the car I had, and like I said, kind of pushing on corner exit, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting it to be. Honestly, like I went out and like I got on it and I wasn't sure what to expect, but I felt it out there for a second and felt comfortable. And actually, like I ran down inside of a couple people in that initial start then. So
If you saw a couple people, going like this in turn two that night, that was us, trying to push you to get going, because that was awesome to see you come back through after the whole fiasco there. Tyler brought up a good point here and kind of leads into my next question. 358s need to get back to Port Royal. Kind of a two-parted question. What is a track that you guys wish you could go to, maybe with the 358s locally or wherever, because you guys are kind of limited to just a handful of tracks. And, you going down with URC, is that something maybe you look at, maybe doing some more, try and do some more of that, maybe this season, next season, whatever?
So locally, a track that I'd like a 358 show to go to. I'd like to get to like Bedford and, I do like Port a lot, but we've been there a couple times. I'm big on getting the new tracks. I like doing that. We haven't gotten to do it a whole lot, and anywhere that has us, I'm extremely grateful to go because, like you said, we're kind of Lincoln Grove BAPS here and there, so getting a chance to go that a track wants to have us, like I'll be there. 9 times out of 10, I'll be there. So. And with the whole going down, with the URC, I don't want to do anything that's gonna, affect our 358 points anywhere, or, our existing schedule. But I definitely look at, kind of trying to fit in some, shows when we don't have any races going on, to just try and kind of fill in that area and, get to some new tracks.
I want to piggyback something there. So why you mentioned Bedford, and I keep hearing Bedford coming up. Why do you want to race there? Like, what about that track is attractive for you to want to go race?
From what I've heard from actually racing on it, it's uphill one way, downhill the other, and that just sounds interesting.
It's interesting. Yes, that is true. But I hear it through a couple of different guys that mentioned Bedford, and I was there. And I was just from a driver's side, wanted to kind of ask that question there. It's interesting.
The one thing I saw there, Brent Chu, Kutztown 358 show.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, there's two places that I think Kutztown, obviously, it's a small trailway with the bank. I don't know how many of you would be ended up running at the end, but it was cool. But the one that would really I think be badass, and it needs to happen if they get going ever again, is Bloomsburg. I think if the teams would support it, and Bloomsburg got up and running, to see you guys get to go up there on a Sunday, a night when you're not running Saturday night at Lincoln or something, man. I'd try to help and get the support to get y'all up there and promote or do something, because I feel like that's perfect size for you guys. If you had a preference, you said you love Port Royal, and you like to run in Lincoln, small track or big track, what would you prefer?
I like small tracks or smaller tracks for the most part. The racing's more, it's tighter, it's a little bit faster paced, you know what I mean? But going to the Grove and stuff, it's about being, smooth and consistent, and they're just two totally different places that you just got to run different.
Tyler brings up Grandview would be good too, and Brent brings up 360s were great at Bloomsburg. I agree if they can get that going. They had a good URC show there a couple years ago.
I was actually up there for one of them.
Yeah,
I was up at I was at Bloomsburg with the 360s. I want to say that was maybe 3 years ago.
Probably their first seat. Yeah.
Their first back. Yeah.
And
yes. And the 358's on the 600 track at Baps. I just saw a post a little bit ago. Actually, there's going to be a revised schedule coming out. Looks like there's been some delays, so I don't think May is in the cards anymore, or June.
Did see it was approved though. I saw that early last week.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think the final stages are there. They can start building. And when I was there at Baps just last night, there's some loads of dirt in the infield now. There's some loads of dirt in there, piled up and ready to maybe be spread out. So I think they're getting there. I just think that the timeline is going to have to be pushed a little bit. But I mean, hey, listen, the 600 track at Baps is supposed to be modeled off Kutztown. So if Brent Shue thinks they'd be cool at Kutztown, they might be cool in York. So we'll see, right? Who knows? Or excuse me, at Baps Motor Speedway in York Haven, Pennsylvania. Sorry, guys.
Can somebody pull up Brett Clark's comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna get to that.
I need everybody to
this micro ride at Kutztown in August he's talking about.
I just need everybody to go message him and tell him that he definitely needs to let me drive that. I've been trying to get him to let me drive it for over a year now. So
I am on the way, sir. 10-4.
Let him drive it. Let him drive it.
We'll reach out to Brett Clark. Let him know that Wyatt should be driving his micro in August. It cuts down.
Absolutely.
It's the least we can do for our fans.
Done. Got it. Brett Clark.
Thanks.
There we go.
Poor Brett doesn't realize how crazy our fans are. They're gonna blow his inbox up.
He's already busy enough with work.
He's gonna be a lot busier answering those questions.
Actually, that's good. Do they have are the 358s on a Path Valley weekend this year? Are they scheduled at all?
No,
they are.
Because I was there last year for that. I was there last year for that race. That was a hell of a race. Cam Smith, man, he was right. Yeah, Cam was ripping in the 69, man. He loves his bull ring. That boy was getting after it.
I was getting upside down, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you made huge jump. I got pictures of that. That thing was wild looking all the way up in the air like that. Looked like James McFadden.
It went out for the feature. Just pulled in pretty soon.
It did make it out for the feature. That's true. I can't believe it actually made it out for the feature because it was big.
Yeah. It was worse when we got back to the shop.
Do you guys? Is there a scheduled show for Big Diamond for you guys? There is one for Big Diamond, right?
There should be.
Yeah, May 24th, I think.
Weichert weekend for Port, right? So that'd be Memorial Day weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, probably that Friday.
It's the Weichert weekend. They're 358. Oh, that sucks.
Well, but that Friday because the Grove's gonna have whatever they have going on. I think it's the Trone race.
That's actually, unfortunately, that's one that we're not going to be making. But they were supposed to have, I think, you're supposed to have one there last year that rained out like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's a sneaky track doing the kind of cool stuff all year long for a bunch of different divisions. So that's kind of cool to see them kind of poking in there again and doing things.
Yeah, they're a big modified track, but they do have a lot of other cool divisions there that How
I
about
mean,
Clinton County is what I was thinking too, because I know when they only have 2 sprint races a year, and you don't need a 410 to go out. There's 305s that finish in the top 5 there. You ever think about going over there, or have you gone
Actually
there?
up there last year.
Oh, okay.
We were up there. No, not last year. Sorry, 2 years ago we were up there.
Okay.
For the URC show. We went up on a. What's that one was a Friday?
sounds
I
right.
think. Yeah, we went up on a Friday. Didn't do terrible. Didn't do great, but it was.
I don't know.
I'd go
USC
back.
goes there twice.
I'd go back, especially now. That we're finding some speed this year. I'd like to go back and see what we can do. But I don't know.
URC is supposed to go there twice, but they'll go there like once because everything else gets rained out. They're usually like 50-50. So URC barely races.
I don't think there's line up with any of our off weekends. I don't know though. I just started looking at URC's calendar actually today.
Clinton County. I mean, anytime to go there, I love that place. One of my favorite places to go. That's kind of off the radar. So I'm with Jimmy here. Support that place anytime we can.
Absolutely.
So we talk a lot about racing, but what do you do in your free time? Is it all racing? It's work, racing, and that's it, or what other hobbies you got?
It's a lot of work and it's a lot of racing. But I spend a lot of time with my girlfriend. She actually rides horses, so I'll go with her and go to what she does and stuff. And then beyond that, just kind of family time and in the downtime, family friends, just trying to kind of balance it all out. But for the most part, it's racing, it's work, it's it's a balancing act.
It definitely fills the schedule up quick, especially when you get into racing season. It doesn't take a lot.
No.
I'm pretty sure I saw Wyatt at the Williams Grove opener in a green tutu. So there's that.
there was that. Yep, I was.
That may have been running around Ian Phil like a leprechaun. That may have happened.
I forgot about that.
Him and his whole entourage.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
No shame.
I must have missed this.
Clearly, you definitely missed it. It was an experience.
I will send you the picture. There's pictures. There's always pictures. I'll send you pictures.
There has to be.
He was credit to White though. He was so proud of himself. No shame. They absolutely just owned it. Gotta love it. I wish I was like that when I was young.
It's a guy having a good time, man.
Having a great time. No leprechauns got him, that's for sure.
Is another one of your hobbies sending Aunt Bay R-rated Snapchat?
I'm always having a great time.
R-rated Snapchats to Aunt Bay. Wow.
I bet they're not R. I would guess.
And I send each other some scandalous shower pics. No, no, that's my homie. He's that big sexy.
Hi, Aunt.
So one of the questions I have for you, and you don't have to have the right, I don't know if there is a right answer, but like personally, I would like to see more 410, 358 combination shows at Babs. And there's one combo, and then you guys, I don't know if that show is this year, but you have that big 358 show is like the headliner. Later in the year, you do time trials and the whole gig. I want to support, I'm a big fan of that combo, 410, 358s at Babs. But it's hard for me to really push and like, hey, let's make this happen. Let's make this happen if 18 of them show up, 15 of them. Why do you think more of the teams didn't support that show earlier this year?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Typically, at least with our division, it's kind of 1 week we'll get 40 cars. Like we got 40 some cars the other week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then some weeks we won't. It's just the big thing with us is we got a lot of people that just they all work. Everybody's got to wake up the next day. And so you're not going to have those, teams that just like they race every day of the week. We're not, we don't have that. So you're going to have some teams that'll be there every race, but you're going to have some that don't, So it's just kind of hit or miss, or if they can travel, that kind of stuff. So.
And I'd love to see the full field. I don't have to have B mains and have 35 cars, but at least have enough for a full field. a lot of those support divisions for BAPS. Now this year's been kind of an exception. They've been getting some really good fields and car counts, but for the most part, between 20 and there you go, right? So I mean, there is that, but y'all haven't raced much, right? So like, yeah, you've gotten some rainouts. You don't really get going. Like there was a test session at Lincoln some years that didn't happen. You can go out and test on your own, but there's been 2 Lincoln shows, right? Now rainouts don't help for sure with any of the
Yeah.
divisions, but at the same time, it's like you feel like if 42 of them showed up for the Sterner as a support division, 40 couple, we can get 24, 26 of them at BAPS on a Sunday. I would feel like there's plenty of cars. Like I just wonder, and a lot of you guys tested BAPS, so I feel like it's a natural. Like, hey, I have laps there. I'm comfortable there. I don't blame them. Like, I guess it makes some sense if you guys are running fairly regularly as the season gets going. If you have a Friday and a Saturday, Williams Grove, Lincoln. But if it's been a week or two off and you have a Friday and a Sunday, to me, I'm like, man, let's go race BAPS, right? Like it's open. It's not a short track per se. So, I mean, I'd love to see more of that, but the teams have to support it for sure. So I'm a big fan. I hope we see more of it. Chris, what do you got?
I already did what I got. Wyatt's my favorite. Loves Williams Grove. I do agree. More 358s at BAPS would be awesome. I don't have any questions.
All right.
Jimmy has questions.
All right, brother. Hey, we're going to get you out of here. Thanks some sponsors, man. Who helps you get up and down the road this year?
So off the gate, Snubbiker Electric. That's my car owner. He's a great guy. He's done a lot for us. He's stepped in major, over the last handful of years, and we wouldn't be where we are without him. Griffith Plumbing Services, they're back on board this year. Great help. East Blend Beverage Distributor, Moons 2 Auto Repair, M&R, Johnny's Pizza, Moons 2. I forget if I said them already. 34 Motorsports, and 2B Raptor Vinyl Guy, Brett Clark, the one trying to let me drive his micro. And then Start to Finish LLC, they're new this year. Titan Wings, the list goes on even beyond people that are on the car. I got to thank Aunt Bay from last weekend. We weren't quite ready when we got to the track. He jumped right in and helped us get ready. Shane Smith Motorsports as a whole, and several other, URC teams that were there kind of pitching in. It's a community, and that I could go on all day about everybody that's ever helped us, and that helps us be where we're at. So, and I'm forever thankful for the support we've gotten.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you here. Either in Victory Lane or maybe in a 2-2 at Williams Grove in the infield or something like that. I'm sure we'll be having some fun, but hopefully more in Victory Lane. So good luck for the rest of the season, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
See you, buddy. See you, Wyatt.
Thanks, Wyatt, for joining us. That was fun. Always fun having him on. Fun guy to talk to. Like having that 358 discussion too, because there's always something to talk about there. Kind of as running more races, other things too, like rules and stuff like that. And he brought up a good point about 40 some cars showing up, and that was just for a little bit more pay throughout the field for that division. So that division can thrive if and can bring people to the track. That's just my opinion.
Even as in 358 division, nobody's making a career, nobody's making a living, but the cost payout matters for those teams, right? Making that feature that night versus any other night, that $100 extra, $200 extra, whatever it was, can go a long way for a small team like that. Ask Jaden Wolf, right? Tear up a race car. Those few $100 can make a big difference. So, probably good. Lincoln got rained out last week actually for Jaden, make sure that he was ready to go for the week and whatever. So yeah, I mean, it matters a ton. I'm looking forward to see what Wyatt can do this year. I know he has the potential. I've seen him as a driver do a lot of good things, and if it all comes together, he can win races for sure.
Absolutely. I think he needs a little bit of luck to get himself up front earlier. You know what I mean? And he can have he can definitely, he's a guy that could still go probably from like 6th or 8th and still win a feature. But he's shown a lot of speed this year. So good luck to him for the rest of the year. Let's go into this past weekend's action. We're going to start with Williams Grove on Friday. Turn the wrong person off.
That's not the first time.
All right. If you want, I'll go. It's fine. I'll go. I'm out.
So let's talk about Williams Grove Friday night. Troy Wagaman, not Craig Wagaman Jr., with the win. Good feature. Lucas Wolf with a good run too. I didn't catch much of this other than highlights. Jeremy, you were there. Tell us what you saw.
Fantastic racetrack at the end. It was pretty fast early. They were ripping pretty good. Troy, took care of Lucas Wolf pretty early there. That was lap 4 maybe. Got from started 4th, got to 2nd quickly. Got just good run here on even on lap 1. Got into 3rd right away. Under Ryan Taylor here, dispatched to Justin Whittle in the next corner. So he was in 2nd in a hurry. Brand new race car for Troy this week. They put it together, and the one they were running had a lot of races on it, and put a new one together, and it was fast out of the gate. I talked to Troy, and he said he knew from hot laps he had something good to work with. And the track definitely changed a lot throughout the night. It definitely ended up pretty wide. You can see a cushion there. There's some sliders. They were doing some things, being aggressive. What is that, lap 4? I think he finishes. Goes around here. So, wasn't easy. Troy had to work for it, but really wasn't challenged a whole lot after here. So did a great job and gets win number 2 in the season. So some good racing throughout. There were some sliders. Macri had to come through the B, ended up passing a bunch of cars, come through the field again. Obviously has speed. There was a spin out here off of 2 at one point. Oh, I think Danny broke as well near the end of this one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But good race. The racetrack ended up really good. It was pretty wide. As you can see, the cushion was up there pretty far on both ends for Williams Grove. It's certainly not on the wall yet, but it was really fast early, and I'm glad it widened out. It made for definitely a good feature again. Some passing involved for sure, and guys were really aggressive. Slider line, you could run the top, you could run the bottom. There was a lip there on exit, so it was good racing. I enjoyed it. And obviously, we're fans of Troy, and seeing him get another win is always a good thing.
Right. That's why I want to go back to episode 1. Troy was here, right, for the season, and we talked about what his expectations were in wins, and I'm pretty sure we had varying degrees of how many wins he was going to get ourselves once Troy left. I want to go back and look. I think I said 4 wins, 3 at Lincoln, 1 to Grove, and he's going to, the way he's been running between BAPS and everywhere else, he's going to top that if he keeps this momentum up with that team. And it's really cool to see how that team kind of gelled last summer and they carried it into this year. They took what they had in November when they got passed by Danny at BAPS right into the season, hit the ground running. Cool to see.
Yeah, I was looking at sprint car ratings. They've been putting out some stuff out today, now that we got some racing going about, who's the top 10 sprint car. They have like a sprint car driver rating. However they figure that out, I'm not exactly sure. But he is ranked 4th out of all PA drivers, just behind Macri, Macri's top in the country, one of the top in the country. Danny, who's been great, and Freddie, who's been very strong. So he's right there with those guys, and he's competing for wins every week, whether it's at Grove, Lincoln, BAPS. So it was really, really cool to see, him run well again this weekend and get a win there at Williams Grove.
It's definitely awesome seeing Troy do well from like our personal side, but just that the Hefner team, it's cool seeing that 27 car competitive. And when your bad nights are still top 8s, that's good. That's a good problem to have. And it's not exactly like he's racing random places with no competition. He's racing against the best we have to offer here, including Anthony Macri this weekend. So love to see it.
I think he's a guy that could win a speed week. I don't know if they're going to run the whole thing, but if they were to run the whole speed week, they could win that title. For sure.
The consistency's there, and he can definitely get a win, right? Put him in the right spot, and he's obviously shown the ability to get the wins, but that consistency that they've shown this year, most of the season, right? Even last night, or 3rd place last night. So,
Jamie, you might know he hasn't tore anything up all year, right? Like for the most part, it's
Knock
been
on
minimal at best.
Lincoln, left front,
When he
broke
took
that one
right.
night, the Lincoln, but really didn't hurt a ton. Really hasn't torn anything up or been caught up in a whole lot.
And
No.
that's been something that's I think one of Troy's like positive attributes his whole career. Had his own team and he just wouldn't tear stuff up because the way to end your season is to tear stuff up. And he's kind of carried that over to the Hefner team while building on his speed and his consistency and doing all the things it takes to win races. Like you don't see him tearing stuff up, and that's going to carry him a long way over the course of a season that starts in February all the way through November.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this comment's perfectly timed here by Hunter about Lucas. And, Lucas was challenging Freddie the week before at Lincoln for second. Has a great run at Williams Grove again, put himself in the right spots and shown good speed this year. And none of us are going to be surprised if he wins a race. And we did talk about this year already. Like, actually, in the last week or two, we talked about it, how good he's looked and consistent and has that speed. And, I think those good runs are going to only help him build confidence. And a confident Lucas Wolf is the guy who can get the job done. So it's been impressive. The other run here in this race that was impressive is Ryan Taylor. A sixth place finish. He really likes Williams Grove. I actually was just by dumb luck was standing by Troy's trailer after that race, and Troy and Ryan were talking, and he really likes racing at Williams Grove. Feels like there's more in control, more in his hands and the control of how he runs his race and lines and strategies and how to get around the racetrack. So good run for Ryan Taylor for sure. Devin Borden was aggressive. Chase had a pretty good car. Steve Buckwalter started up front. He had a good night. Macri obviously from the B to the 8th. Norris and Sisney finished off the top 10. And this is something that I don't know. Maybe I'm just noticing it this year, but Dylan Sisney's racing a lot.
Yeah,
and I love it. We're
I was
all
gonna go there,
better
yeah.
when Dylan Sisney's racing a lot. So he was at Baps on Sunday. So yesterday again. So it was pretty cool.
Racing a lot and always somewhere in the top 10. It feels like it's
Yes.
Before it was Port Royal when it's locked down, rubber down, dry slick. Maybe he wins. Now he's there. Is he gonna win? I don't know, but he's there at least in position to have good finishes, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and Justin Whittle in that video beating himself up.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that back up.
He's had great momentum. He spun out of P3 there, P2, P3, spun himself out, almost took Devin with him. Just a tough deal. I actually have a picture of Devin hitting Justin. They were both on the top when Justin spun, and Devin actually did hit him, lost a bunch of momentum. I can't believe it didn't break Devin's car, but yeah, Justin had a good night going, man, and just made a mistake there. So
there's another celebrity in that frame there.
Yeah.
Well,
Tony Sharp. Tony Sharp lurking in the corners, baby.
Old T Sharp.
You hate seeing Justin kind of beat himself up here, both figuratively and literally,
mentally.
Mentally and everything. Shit happens. He seems to have a lot of speed. He had a lot of speed at Sealands Grove. He's shown it at flashes at times. We know he has speed. He's he won a couple of races last year, so I'm sure he's very frustrated with just how his season's kind of gotten off to a start here, and I think he'll turn it around though. He's like I said, they got a lot of raw speed, so I don't think that'll be a problem. And he was, if he got caught up with Devin there, he's in the top 10 when this happened.
Yeah. So, yeah. He was in the top. They were in the top 5. I mean, he might have been running 3rd or 4th. I don't even know. He might have been 3rd behind Lucas actually. So he was right up there.
Add to that frustration level right there. So yeah. And the other person that I want to give a shout out here for was Kyle Keene. There's 33 cars there. He made the A main and he finished. I think he 18th.
18th. Sounds right.
It was 18th. Great showing by him. Another Williams Grove A main, just
keeps
out
making
there,
shows, man.
Making it from the heat. No matter which way you cut it, he's out there getting laps and keeping pace. So good to see him. He's only has a handful still of 410 shows underneath his belt, and he's looking really good.
And you think about it, like when they get that 358 back going again, if they so choose to go that route, the last time we saw him in one, he was leading the feature,
yes,
and was running away with it until he wasn't. So all it's doing is building confidence. We know he's a good driver. He's worked hard, and that team works hard. Him and Sean doing all that stuff. It's exciting. It's exciting seeing him build from race 1 to what is this, race 6 now, 7?
Maybe, yeah. And I'll be honest, on Friday night, watching Kyle, it looked like a different driver from the first night at the Grove, which we all said, hey, go get the laps, go do what you got to do. I saw him last night be aggressive. He in those first few laps, he really hung with, whoever right there in front of his heat. He was in, fourth, fifth where he finished, but he hung right there for a few laps. As time went on, those cars kind of pulled away a little bit and made a gap on him. But even as the feature went, I saw him kind of go around the top, and somebody tried to slide him, and he gassed it up and drove around the outside of him, like really starting to feel comfortable in traffic around other race cars and getting more aggressive because he's, hey, I've done this, I've seen this now. To see that, hey, I can go drive this car and I can go pass a car when they try to pass me. I'm not just going to lay over, let them go by. So definitely marked improvement in a few short races. So obviously as friends and he's been a big part of our show here. Been on a couple times as a guest and as a co-host, I think maybe even once. So
big supporter too. Yeah, absolutely.
Supporter, sponsor of the show a little bit here. So just looking forward to, and we're talking with him today. And he's kind of planning it out that, he can run the rest of the season and get, another 20 shows of the 410 in, and you may not see the 358 ever again. So unless you have to, so we shall see.
Yeah, that's fair.
And there he is, right on cue, Sean Keane. Kyle's fifth race was at the Grove. We had a different driver in the A-main than the heat. It was awesome to watch. The team was working hard. Thanks for all the support. And another good comment here, and I'm sure we're going to probably go into more in-depth into this next week as we gear up for Outlaw Week here, our first one of the year. Looking at last year, the posse had a lack of leadership when it came to the rival series. Do you feel we'll see it differently this year? I don't know, because
we're in the same place. We're in the same place.
Yeah, I think so.
We're not in the same place.
As far as who we think the leaders are, the leaders would be Macri, Danny. That's the list.
I think Freddie's shown a little more consistency outside of Lincoln, and I mean, he's always been good at Williamsgrove. He ran
Finally,
well.
But third,
he's been running well up. He's been running well everywhere, like up in the top 10. Maybe not always battling for a win, but I think he has shown maybe a little more consistency where I feel better. Where I'm like, hey, he's going to fight for a top 10 with the Outlaws. Maybe not a win. Could get lucky with a win, if things happen, but. Definitely in the top 10, which is still good. That's still what we need out of our guys here with the posse, is to be up there in the top 10, knocking Outlaw guys out of the B main, making them use provisionals. That's what you want to see. And I think you'll see that a lot. And I think Troy's stepping up here. You got Devin Borden taking another kind of like another step in the right direction with his progress. Dylan Norris as well. But it's all yet to be seen. I think that's all yet to be seen until we get this first weekend here where the Outlaws come to town to Lincoln and Williamsgrove next week.
Curious Jeremy's thoughts on why it's different.
Lance Deweese, he's not a presence this year yet and hasn't raced much, isn't comfortable yet. He's a guy that you put on any of the local tracks and he's going to contend. Lincoln would be the biggest, maybe, there's years where he's raced that race and hasn't raced that race. But you go Williamsgrove and Port Royal, and Lance Deweese has got to be at the top of your list of a local guy. And right now, it's not there. Because,
I agree.
He might be banged up a little bit now after Port Royal Saturday night, which we'll get to. So that's the guy. That's been the guy here. Okay. Not that Danny hasn't won a race in the Outlaws, not that Freddie hasn't won, but we haven't been able to put them at that list and go, hey, they're the guys of our guys. Now they have to be. They're what's left. Right. But do you feel confident saying, hey, I feel really good about Danny going to win at Lincoln? He's got a black cloud over him right now. He started off the season so hot. Yeah. And now it's been 2 weeks of right
when it matters money wise is when
it's at the worst time, right? And we've seen this before, unfortunately, and it's not their ability. It's just things really do have to go right. You got to be on your game, and things got to go right. Good draw, good time trial lap, and even shit can go wrong after that. But if I'm looking at this year different than last year, Macri has to take that and run with it.
He's that guy right now. He's the hottest guy in the country as far as
if we're talking.
It's not named Tyler Courtney, I guess. Yeah,
it's Anthony Macri and against the world. And I love Troy. I'm fans of Troy. I like Danny. I like Freddie. But man, if I'm saying, hey, who am I going to put up there at any of these racetracks? It's Anthony Macri.
Yep.
Period. End of sentence. No matter how I feel about that performance and speed talk says it all. And listen, Chase Dietz, man, any of these tracks, I put Chase
Yep.
Dietz on that map and go,
Yes.
none of
He
it would surprise me at any of them.
absolutely should have won on Saturday, I feel like, or at least had a hell of a battle with Macri till the tire blew, which we'll get to. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I put Chase Dietz. He's fast every time he unloads, whether it's the Zemco or it's the 2D. But I agree. As far as you're looking at what Lance has done for the last 7 years, 8 years, Macri's that guy right now. I still want to add Danny and Freddie there. They haven't shown it in the big shows, but they're still got the speed. They're your three guys that you're kind of relying on to beat them. If Chase sneaks up there, sure. Troy, another guy,
right? It's time trials.
They get
We
there,
know
they have
it.
a shot.
Right. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it's time trials. Macri, it's Macri. And then it's Chase, Danny, and Freddie. And then there's like Troy, like in that like fringe of those guys.
Right.
But I want to see Troy go dominate a race and run away with one and just have that speed from beginning to end and killer instinct. Not that he doesn't have that, but he's still learning. Like he's still a young guy in the scheme of things. And obviously can go win races. So
I would say
we'll see.
To your point, like Troy and them fall in that category that we used to have the Macri in, that we used to have the Devon Board. I guess even Devon Board is still kind of there. They're the other guys. We relied on Lance, Danny, Freddie, or whatever combination, or in the old days was
Brent,
Big Fred, Big Fred, Hodnet, Lance. Now that's obviously gone. Troy's that next group where they're fast enough to do it if things fall their way.
Yeah.
As far as time trials, you said, and he gets to the dash. That's the key thing. I don't think you're going to see those guys drive from 12th to 15th up to win. I don't think you're going to see that anywhere.
I don't think you're going to see an outlaw guy do that either.
Right. No, at this point in time, it's just so different. You have to be in the dash. That's basically the rule of this game.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the track. I mean, we're talking right now. We're just talking Lincoln and Williamsburg because that's when the Outlaws are coming in. I think when High Limit comes to Port Royal, I think there's a longer list of potential guys that can win against High Limit compared to at Williams Grove or Lincoln against the Outlaws. But they're going to be competitive. Our guys are always competitive. Even a Steve Buckwalter, Dylan Sisney, even at a Williams Grove or any of these guys, that you're going to see outlaw guys have to take provisionals because they can't transfer into the B main because our guys are taking that spot. And I think that's big. You don't see that in too many other places against the Outlaws. So,
and I'm glad we have a show before Lincoln next week because there's someone else on my mind that I'm going to save and have that conversation to say, if this were to happen, I won't be surprised, but we'll save it.
Yeah, we'll go more in depth into this next week. As we get tuned up for the Outlaws next week. Let's keep moving here. Let's go into Port Royal. And that guy that we're talking about, really the guy that Anthony Macri, man, him and Corey Day are like the two hottest drivers in the country right now. He might not have been the fastest car in this race. And he's, of course, no shortage of controversy.
Far from the most popular, yes.
But he got the win. Once he got out to the lead, he's pretty much gone. TJ Stutz looked really, really good. And he did not go without a fight. He went back and forth with Anthony a little bit. And Freddie with a podium. Freddie in a podium at Port Royal.
In the 51. That was cool.
On a hammer down fast Port Royal.
Yeah.
So everybody comes in here and he's scared of Port Royal. It's too fast for him. What now? What now? Come on.
He passed a lot of cars to get there.
So let's get into this was a marathon of a feature. I didn't really get to see the first half of it because we were trying to get stuff.
We had wholesale changes in the
We had wholesale changes to make, and we're like, oh, we got to hurry up because if this feature goes green, we're like on the clock. But anyway, we'll get into that later. The lap 1 incident. This was rough, man. This took out a lot of good cars, and it was rough. It's a rough watch. There's a lot of different angles on social media. This one courtesy of Flow Racing on their Twitter. Haugen's car is destroyed. How he got out of that car, he's very, very lucky. I'm not sure what happened. AJ Flick, Lance DeWeese, Callum Williamson, Austin Bishop.
AJ Flick.
Yep.
So
Absolutely
from what
destroyed
it
that
looks
car.
like, from all accounts that we could see, he comes down there 3 wide with the 55 and the 67. Not sure the contact would happen. We've seen videos, but a lot of it's catching it like as he's already sideways. So you can see it. Go back. Are you able to move this a little bit frame by frame? Maybe go back a touch. You can see Jeff Halligan if you know what his car looks like. The top wing. So if you look at the lead car
He's-
here, Chase Dietz, and then they're like 3 wide. TJ, Danny,
He's right behind TJ.
On the
69K. He's
inside.
right there on the inside behind Danny. That top wing is keep an eye on it, right? Because Macri's on the outside, but right there, they're 3
Yep.
wide. That's the 67 and the 55. And something happens, he gets turned backwards. And you see the 55, I think, down on the inside rail here.
No, 55 still in the middle. It's
Right?
actually
Who's
Freddie,
down?
I think, down there.
Freddie's
trying
down
to
at the
avoid
bottom
it.
here.
And a lot of
against
people
there.
thought Freddie was involved in this, and I don't believe that
I
based
think
on
Freddie-
that frame before. He's
Right,
just
I think Freddie
already seeing it
stomped and
happen.
left.
Yeah. So, and then somehow Halligan backs up all the way across traffic, doesn't get touched, and just pounds the outside wall, ass end first, fuel tank explodes, and then the chaos ensues with people piling in. So, you know, like Halligan was shook up for sure. He had his bell rung, which no shit. It almost would have been better if someone did clip him on the way, slow that momentum down, something. But
He
because
just
man,
backs
that
straight in, blows the tail
and then
tank
just
up.
gets drilled after that. So, Lance was shaken up, obviously, took Sunday off, a little sore. Austin Bishop was fine. He actually was on the brakes the whole time. He said, I was just on the brakes trying not to get into it. Still got frame damage out of it, trying to stay on the brakes. Yeah, he was in the back of Buckwater there, it looks like.
Cody Hartlaw I just noticed that he just
I would see
missed
that. Can you do that
Halligan
again?
going
Because
right.
I heard he said he just missed it somehow.
Oh,
He
dude,
said he
that
doesn't know
was-
how.
That was close.
Oh, yeah. Right there, center frame.
Wow.
When
Yeah, he
Halligan
was right
backed up,
there.
he was right there. Troy Walkerman spamming the
Oof,
chat.
geez, dude, I want to see that one again. Can you just do that view again? I keep missing where he's at. I looked too late. I was watching.
Right there. Center screen there.
Oh,
Stab.
He's right there.
That was the first car that could have hit him. Holy shit!
And he actually, because he's right below AJ Flick there, and everybody else that got involved in that.
Yeah, he stabbed the brake.
Watch this
Troy
video from the front stretch view.
Troy tagged that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to
no,
watch that.
I feel like Freddie did not cause it, based on anything I've seen so far. He was behind it.
Yeah, it sounds like the
Casey.
55 definitely involved there.
Maybe he jumped the left rear because they were 3 wide. It's the only
Yeah,
thing
but-
I could think of why he would be so sideways like that.
I just think he stabbed the. I don't know.
Yeah,
Obviously, we're saying that you and I were out there in the
Oh,
pits.
Joe Donahue, friend of our posse league, got the whole thing here. I'm gonna see if I can see anything that.
See
Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. I wish we could get that link and put that up because I think it gives you a little.
If you could send me the link, or do.
I got it from our page. Let me see if I can. Let me look at this again here real quick.
Yeah, Jimmy and I were all about carrying Jackson
And
everything
actually,
around while Brett's doing gear changes, and we got a text that
Yeah.
there was a bad red flag, so we brought up Flo to kind of watch the same thing we're watching now from the pits. Like, what the hell's going on out there?
Update on Lance. He was just sore. I think he did a little interview with Flow Racing. It's on their webpage. Just talk about how he was sore. He took Sunday off. I'm sure he'll be back next week. Just probably just a little sore from a tough wreck.
So the 55 comes down the front stretch, turns up the track a little bit into Whitall, turns kind of a hard left, enough of a left to get off of Whitall, and Halligan was there with nowhere to go. It turns Halligan backwards, so he almost like right hooks him, turns him backwards across it to get that.
If you look at the still frame here, you can kind of see it. Like,
yeah,
Halligan's sideways, and those guys are just going.
Yeah, the 55 looks like kind of went up the track into Whitall. Not a panic move at all, but like sort of like tried to get off Whitall, turn left. When it went left, Halligan was there, and he got into Halligan's right rear, and then it turned Halligan. So just an unfortunate set of events on a fast racetrack, which, man, that's tough.
Hold on, I got it here.
Not ideal. For sure.
Joe Donahue, which we saw him earlier on in the night, talking to him a little bit before heating the motors and everything. Good dude.
So it's kind of going to be kind of hard to see, but you'll see kind of car move up, move down, and boom, gets into Halligan and just sends him. Phew.
One of those racing deals. Started the race, a lot of cars, not a lot of space.
Yeah, like I don't. There, you see the 55 kind of weave a
Man.
They
little bit,
just
kind of
they
he
just
goes right,
Yeah.
goes left.
they just met in the middle.
So, listen, Mike Wagner isn't a rookie, but this is the kind of things that can happen on a racetrack. Somebody gets a run, maybe Halligan started the row behind them, or maybe he spun the tires a little and they got to Halligan. Like so much can happen in such a short amount of time with these race cars, especially when there's this much grip. When they're big at Port Royal, they're big, and this was big. So yeah, dirty air, right? A small adjustment left or right, and that car can move a ton. So, but man, it was hammered down. They were running 15.8, 15.9 seconds in time trials, which is an average of 126 miles an hour, I believe I heard. So if they're averaging 126 miles an hour, guys, what's the straightaway speeds?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably
140
getting
plus.
135. Yeah, probably
You know,
140 because they
so
carry so much speed through the corner.
yeah, absolutely hauling the mail. It did get a little bit wider as the night went on. It just started to slick off a little bit. And Anthony Macri, man, speed from beginning to end. TJ and doesn't surprise me. I saw a comment here when TJ took the lead and slid Macri and kind of closed the door. Or yeah, 15-0, excuse me. Okay, 15-0. Sorry about that. I'm even 15
Yeah.
zeros. When TJ closed the door on Anthony, man, the place went nuts. I could
Yeah.
almost hear it
The
from where I was
grandstands.
standing. It had to be happening.
I was sitting
were
with
you
you
guys up
at
there?
grandstands, and you would have thought a touchdown was just scored in Penn State.
Yeah,
because
it was loud.
Like it was stupid. And talking about the 15-0, like Jimmy and I were up there, and he was what 0.3 quicker than second place in that
Yeah.
group. That was crazy.
Super
Stupid
crazy fast. Just crazy fast. And we don't see that, but a handful of times a year at Port Royal. I liked it. I enjoyed that they were fast to see what they can do around that place. But man, it was almost too fast for a feature there, which is, people that don't know Port Royal and don't go there and they call it the Speed Palace. That was the Speed Palace.
That's why.
But here, that accident in turn one is what they want to avoid.
Yes.
That's what they want to avoid there, and it can be very, very dangerous at that place when it's like that. So and by design, I think you don't see it that way very often throughout the season. And honestly, the racing's better when it's slower. Fact of the matter is, the racing's better when the place is a little slower than that. So,
just like most places, yeah.
But as we'll get to here in just a minute, a fast 410A man created unbelievable wingless races.
Absolutely.
So we'll finish up the 410 here and we'll move into that.
So Chase Dietz, man, he was the car to beat, and explodes the left rear, and all chaos ensued from there. Because as that was it that or no, it was during this. So Chase Dietz in the lead, Macri's coming, and they're running through lap traffic, and Macri's going low, and boots Aaron Bongler, who was he was a surprise entry, I guess maybe with Lincoln canceling, and that also takes out Logan Wagner, who was really fast and coming too. Tough deal for both of those guys. I know there must have been some type of deal, maybe in the pits between them.
The street.
Jeremy, I know when we were leading up to the show, you said I has thoughts. What are they?
I do, and I like Aaron. I'm not the biggest fan of Anthony, and I like Aaron a lot, but I don't think Anthony had any intentions of this happening. And when he goes in the corner and you see Anthony Macri sideways on the bottom of the corner, he did something wrong. Something isn't by plan. This car should not be sideways right there. That's not how he ran the whole race. So what happened, Aaron had ran the previous laps. I believe Anthony went in there and said, okay, here's my chance to get by him. He's going to go to the top. He didn't end up at the top, and Anthony jumps on the brakes, turns the car sideways when he realizes he's there, and it was too late. I understand in the heat of the moment, Aaron should be pissed. He got junked a race car that is owned by someone else, second time in the car ever. It's junk, and I get it. I understand it completely. And Anthony also felt like he probably had to go, but I don't think Anthony ever thought he would end up there. And when Anthony jumps that car sideways, that's to me saying I'm going to try to avoid this from happening on Anthony's part. And Anthony tried to apologize. This sounds like, based on what happened in the pits, Aaron approached Anthony, and Anthony didn't seem to have a whole lot of remorse in Aaron's opinion at the time. And the interview I saw with Anthony with Jeremy Elliott kind of said otherwise. He felt bad about it. Listen, I get it, man. This is emotions. This is you're junking a race car. The guy who's leading, you're a lap car. Maybe not going well, whatever. But I can't tell you I could sit there and say that Aaron, with proof, ran the top of the previous laps. If Aaron changed lines and Anthony predicted he was going to be at the top, and Anthony went to drive in there to either slide him or slide himself to keep the momentum up, knowing he's got to go. You hate to see this happen, but I don't put it all on either driver, and I certainly don't put it all on Anthony. And I like Aaron. I talk with Aaron every weekend, and if Aaron was standing here, I'd say the same thing. And it's just an opinion. I'm not in the driver's seat of either car, but when I look at that, I don't believe Anthony would have ever been that sideways in the middle of the corner there unless something was out of place.
To me, it also looked like Aaron kind of came down a little bit. Like maybe
Sure
he
he
was
did.
going to
And he
drift
was
up
in the
and
middle. He
kind
was
of
going
got
to
some
diamond it
grip
off
and
a
came
little bit,
into him.
right? Yep, 100% right. And I don't put that on Aaron. Like, he gets the chance to run his line for sure. But I don't think Anthony ever thought he would be there. I really, really, truly believe that. So, and it sucks. Honestly, it sucks for both these cars and including Logan Wagner, because you're running second. And he said he was actually kind of sore and a little bit shook up from that too. That was a pretty hard hit on the way by there. So that's my thoughts on it. And I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of in the same boat there. And Anthony here, he's behind 2 lap cars trying to get to the lead. He's trying to be aggressive. I don't think he's overly aggressive there. I think this is a classic case of racing deal. It is what it is. It was very polarizing with the fans. There was a lot of boos, a lot of people that were pissed. And then you have people that are saying, hey, that you shouldn't, as a lap car, you shouldn't be racing the leaders like this. But everybody is entitled to race their own race. And it's just 2 guys going for, thinking one's going to be up a little bit higher, trying to kind of go for the same real estate. And they come together, and one guy gets the shit end of the stick, and the other guy goes on to win $15,000. It's just how it shook out.
Yeah,
make it look even worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, sure, and if it's a racing deal to me, 100%. From the fan side, you see a guy that's winning a lot hit a guy that's building a program or building a name for himself. It's never going to look good, whether the intent's there or not. Doesn't really matter to the fans because they just do whatever they want. But it's a bad look. Like, in their heads, Anthony doesn't have to do this. It's like, well, Anthony's good because he makes moves like this work 98% of the time. So
yes,
in this case, a couple things were wrong and it didn't work out, and it sucks. And that's between those 2 teams. But for me, it's racing, and it's unfortunate. I like Aaron, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and more I watch this, and shout out to Flo for putting these highlights up on Twitter. I don't see Anthony really come up that much. He kind of is running the same line that those that.
No, it's that turn right there that Jeremy's
McIntyre's running. So, but
yeah,
I get
watch
it.
McIntyre. McIntyre definitely stays lower and straighter. Yeah. Again, Anthony would have done the same if Anthony was intending to run the bottom. I don't think Anthony intended to have a car on his right rear there. So even if he wanted to slide himself or run the middle, he jams and goes, "Oh shit, that car didn't leave. That car didn't go to the top," and tries to turn it sideways to not get into him. He could have just drove straight. If Anthony didn't know at all and never saw him, he probably drives a straight line into him. But he's trying to turn down to stay off of him. At the same time, Aaron's trying to turn down a little bit. So, listen, I don't. I hate to see a car junked. I hate to see 2 cars junked of it. And I understand if you don't like Macri or you're a 69K fan, you're like F Macri. I get it. Like, it's emotional, and we're all fans. And in the spur of the moment, I know what this looks like. I didn't even see it live. I didn't even know how Aaron got wrecked. I didn't see it until on my way home or the next day.
Same.
So I had no idea he was even going to be in the way, or not in the way, but a lap car. So unless Aaron's not in the racing the leader hard, he doesn't even know if you've seen Macri yet. Come off the corner there. He doesn't know Macri's behind him. He could be getting a blue flag. Who knows how far that is?
Yeah.
Is there a scientific fact that says you get the blue flag, they're X amount of feet from you? You don't know. You don't have mirrors, right? So he's racing his race, and he's racing Gerard McIntyre for position there. So, you know, I also understand if Macri came off in some kind of way to not feel remorseful or sorry because Anthony didn't try to do it. If he didn't come off the way Aaron thought and Aaron's pissed off about it, like, you know, sucks. So, but yeah, I mean, Chase Dietz was leading that race. Chase Dietz was probably going to win that race.
Yeah.
Looked amazing, but tires. So, bunch of tires cut down.
So yeah, after that red flag, Danny had during that red flag actually, Danny had a tire go down, and it sounded like something melted to flatten it.
What I heard, it caught on fire.
And then also during that, which sucked, Cody Hartlaub was sitting on the front stretch, and it looked like something underneath caught on fire, and they had to put the fire extinguisher out, basically end his night. Just something that wouldn't, a flame that wouldn't go out. Just tough deal for him. Did nothing wrong. So that red flag alone was crazy. And then Borden had a tire go down as they got pushed off the restart. And then after that, just down the backstretch, exploded. Like, just there's nothing left of it. All left rear tires. Very strange. But maybe just coincidence. I don't
Danny
know.
had the same exact thing as Cody. Caught on fire sitting there. So I talked to Cody and I asked him because I didn't even see Cody leave the racetrack. Where I was standing, that's the downside of where I'm at sometimes. I don't know what happened. I didn't know what happened to Aaron. I didn't know how. I didn't know Cody even went off the racetrack. I didn't know Danny was off the racetrack. I missed all of this. So it sounds like Cody ran over someone with the left rear, went green. The car was almost undrivable. Pretty sure we had a left rear going down. They did find 3 or 4 holes / slices in it. Then under that second red, his car and Danny's did the same thing of fuel in the muffler caught the left rear on fire. So there's fuel getting caught in the mufflers of these things. It ignites and then it catches on fire and it's burning the left sides down. So then Cody comes into the pits and only have one tire on their mule or whatever. They didn't have enough tires to put a left rear and a right rear on it. They had a right rear on, not a left rear, so he couldn't come back out. They didn't have a tire. So Danny, I think, talked about the same thing about catching on fire sitting there as a product of these mufflers. So
yeah, he got pushed around from the backstretch to turn 4, and then he got out of his car during the red. And I couldn't tell. I'm in the pit grandstand. I can't tell if he's yelling to Jake or if he's yelling at the. I just hear a lot of yelling back and forth. I don't think it's necessarily. Probably just like heat of the moment, not necessarily angry, just trying to talk to each other from a distance. I couldn't hear exactly what they were saying, but there's a lot of scrambling going on, and then he eventually had to get the hook. So he got pushed around from the backstretch to turn 4. He gets out of the car, looks, oh shit, it's down. They get a wrecker out, get him to the pits. He still gets the tire on, still comes back and finishes 9th. But at that point, there was only like 14 cars maybe running. But still was he was running really well. He was up in the top 5 at that point.
That makes sense then, because I saw people bitching about how does a driver get out of their car, get back in their car, and be allowed to be on the racetrack and go again. I don't know the sequence. Was it on fire when he got out, and that's why he got out?
No,
or
he was on fire on the backstretch, and then they pushed him around, and he stopped at turn 4 right before the entrance into the hot pit, basically on the front stretch. And then he was getting out of the car, looking around. I couldn't tell too much from there. I just heard a lot of yelling, him going back and forth with his crew and the safety officials there. I wonder if they were debating if they were even going to go back out. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was $1,000 to pay for 10th place on up. It was a good paying race throughout the field, so it was worth going to get a couple extra positions because it paid more and at least 1,000 from 10th on up.
Yeah, so, and I'm sure there's more to this than even I know. Obviously, that I know because I'm having to ask questions about it. But I saw that comment on Facebook or Twitter or X or whatever about, how's the driver allowed to get back in their car and race after they got out of their car, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know who they were even talking about. I'm sure it was someone doesn't like, and turns out it's Danny. So there's that. But I don't know. I don't know what the rule is or isn't. I mean, Port Royal really doesn't screw that stuff up very often as far as to my knowledge, getting it right, getting it wrong, blah, blah, blah. So, whatever. I don't know.
I think
whatever. Some was cutting tires. That's for sure.
was it Tusky a couple years ago when Dylan Sisney had a really bad wreck and was on fire, and then Logan Wagner and Danny Dietrich, they both got out of their car, and obviously for that to help pull him out.
It's different
You
when it's
know,
under red.
so
Under
that's
red.
different. But this was still under red as well. So
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I think it's. I don't know. I don't know what the rule actually
I don't know.
is.
Sure, it's fine.
But to me, no, I don't see a problem with it. You know, they were still there cleaning up for a while. He had to figure out either he's going to the pit area or he's going back to the hall area. Either way, so Jacob Allen was a. I loved his announcement video last weekend saying that he was going to run Port and Baps. He gets a solid top 10 here. Looked all right. He had a tough time trial. Something went wrong. But then got himself up in there and got a top 10 as well. So, yeah. Anything else from the 410 feature?
Yeah, Lucas Wolf, right? We just talked about top 5. Justin Whittle, 6th. Phenomenal run. Obviously, we talked about Freddie. Great run. TJ Stutz, great run. TJ's shown a lot of speed in his car and that 11P at times. Certainly that 11P has been performing better with TJ in it than previous. So really nice job there. Mike Wagner, really good bounce back for him after an injury last year. So certainly hasn't slowed him down at all. Just a lot of good runs here in this top 10 and overall at Port Royal for a fast hammer down track.
Port Royal rulebook says a driver is allowed to get out of the car if an official deems it okay necessary, which from Dietrich said the official said it was okay. So I guess they didn't put it out on the backstretch. They had to take it out, push his car around the turn 4 to get a fire extinguisher because the backstretch guys were over in turn 2 cleaning up that wreck. So I do remember hearing, I think maybe Danny tweeted that. So, all right, 410 feature, Anthony Macri, 15 grand richer. But set up for 2 amazing wingless features. We're going to start off with the USAC East Coast Series here. Joey Amancia, man, this race it had a lot. There was a lot. So, you had Alex Bright and Briggs Danner. They were the class of the field to begin with. They were gone probably by about 2-3 seconds. And Danner was closing in on Alex Bright to the point. And he was right on his tail tank coming out of turn 2. And Alex gets kind of bunched up. And Danner is right there. So they both get involved in a wreck, which opens up the floodgates for
absolute
Bruno.
Chaos.
Yeah. Joey, obviously, Christian Bruno, Carmen Perigo, Stephen Dravicki, those guys. It kind of opened up, for those guys to battle for the win now. There was enough laps left. Alex Bright did end up getting back to 5th. Briggs Danner couldn't finish the race after the incident. The Slider Fest, though. Christian Bruno inherited the lead then, and Joey was behind them, and they just went back and forth in a slugfest. And as that's going on, Carmen and Stephen Dravicki are battling, going back and forth right there, right behind those 2 guys. And it was like a 3-car battle for the lead almost at one point. You could see Carmen right there battling with Joey. It was an awesome feature. We didn't get to see the last 7 laps, I think. And then I'm watching on Race Monitor as we're pushing Brett. I'm like, hey, he finished 2nd.
I just saw where I was standing. I just saw me.
Yeah, I mean that battle with Joey and Bruno there down the stretch. Here's the mess.
Terrible timing. That's just terrible timing for Briggs, man.
Right. But it sets it up. The slider bombs that both of them back and forth, lap after lap, was impressive after this. And hell, even Carmen did it in the last lap, like Jimmy was on about. Ended up being for 2nd, which wasn't even his goal, as it turned out. It just kind of worked out for him. But this battle here, each end, it was
good,
so fun to watch.
Ended up.
Look at this.
Oh God!
Lap after lap, and just be.
I thought there was a time or two where one of them was going to go up and just pound the wall in 3 and 4, but it wasn't that slick across. So They were able to drive that hard,
Bruno got
not
close
back it into the
once.
wall.
Bruno got close once. That kind of broke up this battle, and that's when Carmen crept in. But yeah, otherwise it was just like it's amazing, just the car control and everything back and forth.
Yeah, look, he's carrying the left front, middle of the corner, backing it up the hill like there was that much grip still.
Yeah, and then, like I said, Steven Dravicki, he's right there underneath Carmen, especially out of 3 and 4. He's running that lower line to kind of almost keep a pace with him, but Carmen was able to keep enough momentum down the front stretch to stay clear of him in 1 and 2. And then he would kind of creep into the picture here as these guys were battling. And you think, hey, maybe the same thing happens between these two guys, like, if two guys like Alex Bright and Briggs Danner, who are like probably the two of the best in that field, anybody, it could happen to anybody. But these guys put on a great, clean show, awesome race to watch. Joey was so stoked in Victory Lane. He got out. He was all amped up. He's a character. Just a great race, though. Just awesome.
Unbelievable. I mean, like,
Right here,
I hate it for both. Hate it for Briggs Danner and the way that was going. But man, and listen, they could have gotten into a slaughter battle at some point. But I think that this was incredible. It was so much fun. I was just smiling the whole time watching this shit happen. Like, I was on the front stretch by the end of this, taking a picture or two as they came by, but I was just standing there as a fan watching these two go at it. I watched Christian Bruno in a micro, watched Joey growing up here a little bit in front of our eyes the last couple of years, really getting that experience. And, I don't know if 2 years ago or a year ago, he makes this work, all of this. So it was pretty cool. It was very cool to watch. And, I don't know Joey that well, but I watched his career. I watched him do some racing, and he's taken some lumps, and he's going to be out on the national tour this year as a young guy, and he's going to take his lumps, and he's going to have good nights and bad nights. But man, he looked like a veteran. They both did. And they're both young guys. So it was cool to watch for sure. This is the best Port Royal for these cars, and
yes,
we don't get to see this a lot. And as fast as the 410 feature was, and maybe it wasn't the best Port Royal for the 410s, it was that much better for these cars. And not only this, but then the Wingless Sportsman after, just as good. Man, I was entertained. It was better than the 410 feature. Not
absolutely. Both of them.
Like this was both of them. Both the Wingless were better than the 410 race. Just super entertaining. And Joey kind of takes control here with, there's 3 to go there. Sort of takes control, and Carmen gets going in typical Carmen fashion. You wait till the very end and then go. And we talked to him after the race, and he said, man, as they were sliding each other, he got close a time or two and said he just didn't feel comfortable going up there and doing what happened to Briggs a little bit, where someone makes a mistake and he ends up caught in someone else's problem. So I feel like once they got spread out a little here, he started to get out.
You see this bomb in turn 3.
Yeah,
since I watched on the pit grandstand.
It almost reminded me of like when Buddy from.
Look at this, like absolutely on his nose.
And he makes this work even with those 2 cars turning under.
Yeah, 3 wide of the line, got him.
Crazy. Carmen Parago P2.
It reminded me though a little bit of when Buddy the other week, because it was kind of this, not exactly the same, obviously, but Buddy came out of nowhere in the frame until they got into turn 3 and threw the bomb. Carmen made it work. It was awesome. So great run for congratulations to Joey. Great run for Carmen. Like I said, also for Alex Bright to make his way back up to 5th.
I tell you what, that race is 5 laps longer. Alex Bright's in the top 3.
Yeah,
he was visibly faster than everybody else in front of him. That's how good he was.
So, and so Joey going to the National Series. At first, I kind of questioned it a little bit, but I mean, he's really starting to turn a little bit of a corner here, where he's winning some races. He's showing some maturity. He's racing smart. He did it there, and he's going to send it though.
Absolutely.
I think Carmen said something like that. He's like, I'm going to be starting. I think he started behind Joey on the initial start. He goes, I know he's just going to send it. So, and he did. He did all right. So got him the win. So, congratulations to him. And then after that, to cap it all off, the Wingless Sportsman feature, Craig Perigo with the win. Look at those guys.
Hey, celebrities here. It's Team CPR, baby.
Jimmy's got the hoodie on the night. Craig Perigo's exact words were, "I'm tired of seeing this 2A. Fill in your word. Here's these hoodies."
Uh-oh.
What's
We down?
No, it says everything's streaming. Except
Sorry, Ken. It's your internet again. Fix it.
But yeah, this was an awesome feature too. I don't have a highlight video for this. But Craig
started second.
He started second, got to the lead early, and basically held it from there. He had to make his car pretty wide, hold off Cliff Bryan, Trent Yoder, and Steve Wilbur, which it was a 4-car battle for the win.
And even before that, shout out to Jay Fantasy.
Yeah.
Was giving it to Craig, and I think Craig and I talked after the race. I think Jay probably was going to get him running that lower line he had. A little bobble there, a 4 to the 360. Not bad for a wing guy from Baps that was only there because Baps had to cancel.
Jimmy, we might be down. I just got another message that said what just happened.
What's that? On Facebook?
Yeah, it says stream unavailable for policy violation. What did we do?
Told you.
Come on.
I told you.
Tried to tell you. YouTube went down. It's YouTube.
No, it's up. I just clicked it. It's fine.
Brad said YouTube went down.
No, I just heard us say that.
He's on Facebook, so that makes sense. It's back.
YouTube is down. That doesn't shock me.
Told you. We tried to warn you.
Yeah, it's down. YouTube's down. Was there music involved at all?
It's back now.
Now it's back, it says. Huh.
Yeah, it's because we're not playing it anymore, so we're good.
Sorry, everybody.
Glitch. Yeah, Craig Perigo out of his comfort zone. He likes dry, slick, tight, jacked up racetracks. But on this day, he was on the cushion, kind of like we heard last week. Perigo was going to be on the fence, was going to win, and we got that. So Cliff Bryan definitely gave it to him there towards the end, but race clean, race hard. Trent Yoda got into a slotted battle with Wilbur. That was cool.
This was the most unlikely outcome. If you told me how this track would be, and I said, hey, and you asked me who would win this race, who would be up front, and this track surface the way it is. Second, third, yeah, okay.
Cliff's good.
Maybe Brett and fifth would have been guys that have been like, yeah, they're going to be there. They're going to be up top. Craig Perigo running the top, ripping it that hard, self-admittedly, not me, not my opinion. It's my opinion, but from the actual Craig Perigo's mouth said, that's not my style. I didn't want to do it. I kept waiting for my own mistake, and I knew it was going to be all over, and I just didn't make a mistake. Cliff Bryan never really threw the bomb at him. Maybe once, didn't work out, held on for the win. It was awesome, man. I was down in 1 and 2, and they would set the car, drive it in there, set it on the cushion, and he said he was flat foot from middle off and just digging on the top of 1 and 2. He said 3 and 4 was getting a little sketchy. It was getting a little thin up there. But 1 and 2, man, those guys were giving it all they could, all the motors could handle in 1 and 2. It was awesome. It was fun to watch. Yoder wasn't on the top like them as much. I think, well, he might have been actually, but we know Steve Wilbur was in the middle. Right. And Steve Wilbur finishing fourth when the by far dominant line was the fence is a kudos to Steve and how good his program is to run where he ran and finish fourth. And we love Brett Perigo. That's our boy. But when they had a caution, Brett was in fifth and had this lineup just like this on a redo, and Brett was going around the top. He didn't have anything for the top 4. And that tells you how good Wilbur is when Brett could run the preferred line and couldn't really run Wilbur down. So that's how good those top 4 were. They were the class of the field, not to take anything away from Brett with his top 5, because I think he started
10th. He started 10th.
10th to 5th. So, and him
he
and
was
Chad
also
Thomas
in a puddle of oil the entire last half of the race.
And
he was having a bad time.
Whole cockpit was full of oil, so there's that. But a hell of a run there, and man, what an entertaining race, entertaining night all around. To be honest, from beginning to end for the wingless cars.
So all the Perigos were in a heat together, and they started on the outside row, 2nd, 4th, and 6th, and Craig started 2nd. He won that heat, I feel like, by half a track. And again, by ripping the top at the time, and it was fast then. And was it after he came up to me because shout out to Craig. He gave us these hoodies early in the night. Shout out, and he's like, "Hey, at least you'll have a winning Parago on your shirt and everything." He loves to bust balls, and um, so Chris changed into it, but I didn't. I kept my other one on because I didn't want to get dirty, and he came up and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "I told you, you had the wrong hoodie on." And but it was for us. It was just a really cool experience just to be. I like hanging out with them in the pits and helping them out as much as I can. I don't know shit, but just scraping mud and moving shit around for them to make anything for their lives easier. It was a good time.
Absolutely. I mean, Jimmy, you had the hard jobs of carrying tires and following Brett around with gearboxes and stuff, and I was just cleaning all the mud off of 2 cars, and we have once in a while get yelled at to push a car backwards, and that's about the amount of times we touched Craig's car was to push it backwards so he could go, but it counts, all right? We're the best car pushers ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
One shot, one victory lane.
And the thing is that there's 4 Paragos racing, so 3 in the Sportsman, Craig, Dennis and Brett, and then you had Carmen in the USAC 360, and they're all helping each other out, and including us. So it was just kind of like one big team kind of collaborated together.
Right.
And Carmen got second, Craig got a win, and looked dominant at doing it. So it was cool. We appreciate him getting us in victory lane and letting us take a picture, and we actually got on flow. We're right as they cut out and fade away. Perfect. Of the broadcast.
Where we belong.
You see us for about 2 seconds, and then they cut out.
And Jeremy had every opportunity to be in that picture, and he decided to take it instead because he's
the one that took
took
the picture.
Yeah, I wanted to take the picture, make sure these guys got a good one. No, I'm just kidding. But
I still want to see the one that you took of us when we were walking at you and you flashed us. I didn't even know you had a flash until I'm like, what the hell?
Listen, I was at 3 races. I'm almost through the heat races of Williams Grove Friday. It's going to be a week.
Like we're walking up and Craig was saying, bam, flash grenade. It's like, what the hell?
It's going to be a week till I get to those. But listen, and I actually got a victory lane picture with Troy last year at BAPS. So you're not first, okay? You're going to get seconds.
And a shoe.
And actually, I'm not going to be at Lincoln this weekend. So sorry, buddy. Maybe nowhere this weekend. May not be any racing for me this weekend. But anyway, let's move on.
So good weekend. Capped off here with BAPS. Final race to recap here. Anthony Macri. I'm not going to play the highlights so we don't get kicked off again. But watching it, basically, Tyler Ross and Troy Wogman starting front row. And, Troy and Tyler kind of battled, and Tyler kind of took control. And then Anthony came through. I don't know where he started. He started further back in the top 10, though. And they worked through lap traffic. He had to make a move pretty late at the end and got the win. Tyler Ross looked really, really good, though. What'd you see as you were there?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
It was another great BAPS race, as usual. Really, really heavy early. Was pretty fast, and it started to dry out a little. They put a little water down, ran it in. Macri started 6th because there's some drama with the redraw. So that was last redraw spot that drew. Again, it's not really drama, I guess, unless you're the person who didn't make it to the announced time and place that you were supposed to be if you made the redraw, but I'll digress. Really good feature. I thought Troy was sort of setting Tyler up, to be honest with you. And I know Troy would have, if he was faster, he would have probably went and just said, "Hey, I'm taking this race and going." But I felt all along I had confidence in Troy. He was going to go take this win. And then as laps went on, it felt like they got even. Tyler got a little better, and here comes Anthony. Boom. And then Anthony was ripping at the end and made a hell of a move to take the lead. It wasn't easy. It didn't just happen and he was gone. He had to work for it, and he made a hell of a move into 1, completed it off 2, and that was kind of it. But just another good 410 BAPS race. They rarely disappoint. The track, they know what to do with it. What I love about BAPS is they know what they do. They know their track, they know their surface, they know what works, they know what doesn't. They know what it needs, and it doesn't take forever. I know they got a little bit of shit the last 410 race. It was still worth it. I know that it didn't work out for the other divisions, but it put on a hell of a show for a big win, a big purse. So the last race, this past one, just as good. Great racing, great sunset, beautiful day. good racing. Track had character. I couldn't ask for much more. Tyler Ross, very impressive run.
Yeah.
Very impressive. In traffic, in lap traffic, and really he had a great car because Anthony didn't have that easy. Troy with another good run. Danny with a P4. It was a quiet P4, I feel like, but it was a battle. I think that the track changed a lot over the course of that race. Freddie was good. Didn't even see where he got by Freddie. It doesn't surprise me. Freddie would. There was a couple cars struggling in 3 and 4 a little bit. They'd hit the bottom, slide across. It was a challenging racetrack. Devin Borden, he did have to pass some cars, typical Devin fashion. Jacob was fast. Kyle Moody had some speed. Lucas and Dylan Norris, like that's the top 10 I expect to see there. I mean, in whatever order you want to put them in, that's the cars. Minus like Kyle Reinhardt, he was actually moving up forward. Had something happen. Billy pulled in. Billy had some speed. Um, just a great race. Just another great Baps 410 race.
As George Wood always says, never seen a bad race at Susky. And I mean, they do. They always put on bangers.
Yeah.
Always good close racing, especially when they get into lap traffic. It makes it real fun, and that's what made this race fun. And actually kind of opened up the door for Anthony. Sometimes you're better off being that second car and letting the leader try to, let him make that mistake through lap traffic. It wasn't even really a mistake. Anthony just kind of made a good move. So Tyler also ran second at Delmar on Saturday too, what URC. So good weekend for him. Back-to-back second place finishes. I'm sure he would want to win, but he can't be that disappointed.
Yeah.
The BAPS Special Race thing, just to tie back to what Jeremy said earlier, my race counter has BAPS at the top of the chart still. 3 races for me at BAPS to 1 Williams Grove. Take that for what it's worth, Jay-Z.
So does that mean it's better?
I don't know. Numbers will
tell.
tell.
More.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Still early.
So something that, and again, I'm a fan of race cars. I'm a fan of sprint cars. Something that was super cool to me, and it probably didn't look that great on the broadcast, or maybe it didn't look that great in the stands. But as that race went on at the end, and they were at the bottom of 3 and 4, right? They all had their wings back, and they come off 4, and it's flat off the bottom, and they kind of come up out of the hole a little bit there, and they're all like light on the front end, kind of steering the cars left because they're tight because they got all the wing in them. I don't know why, but I think that's the coolest damn thing in a sprint car. I know it probably isn't that exciting from outside, but there were still passes being made at the end. But it's cool as hell watching those guys have to fight those cars left with the wings trunked and trying to dig up off the bottom, have grip. They're not really spinning the tires. They have enough grip that they're lifting the front ends up off the ground, just not pull wheelies, but like the front ends get light and they want to pull to the right a little bit and they have to counter them to the left. I don't know why, but I think that's just cool as hell. And they're just digging. I mean, they're figuring out a way to get it digging. So, I enjoy that a lot. I can't wait to look at the pictures and see if they look as cool that through my lens that I saw, that in my mind that they look cool. They probably don't look as cool as a still picture, but I don't know. I think that neat as hell that they control those cars and still have speed when there's losing. I think it's maybe I'm a weirdo, but that shit's always cool to me.
Jacob Allen with and also a solid top 10. It's good to see him out here. I thought we were going to see what Knoxville ran out, so kind of tying everything together here. High Limit didn't race; they were off, except for Tuesday, which we're going to briefly talk about here in a second. And then Outlaws get rained out at Knoxville. Thought maybe you would see maybe a couple local teams maybe come on, but they chose to stay out there, which makes sense because they got to stay out in Kansas for a midweek race. And then, so I get it, not to make the travel all the way home. But, with $15,000 on the line at Port Royal and a 3-race weekend that looked good weather-wise for the first. Saturday wasn't great. It was still pretty moist out, but, it wasn't. It was moist. It was moist.
It wasn't cold, though. I didn't get cold, Ryan Smith, when you hear this. I wasn't cold.
What?
What was that? Microphone, buddy.
Wasn't cold. Ryan Smith said it was going to be cold. I never got cold.
No. I was in jeans and a hoodie, and I was not cold all night. I could see my breath, but that's just because of how much moisture was in the air. Not because it was cold, so I was comfortable, and I was dry too. So
it was 50. It was 50. I think it was getting pretty damp. Like everything that I had that was dirt was turning to sheen of mud, kind of. There was enough moisture in the air, and it was 50. It was humid, so it was getting cool. I was getting cool standing around. If you guys were working, moving, like it
Yeah.
probably wasn't bad.
I was gonna say it
Um,
changes things. We were actually working for once instead of being degenerates in the infield, so it
walking
helped.
across the track into the pits. By the time I got to the pits, I was warm. Like I just needed to be moving
Yeah.
more. I was standing watching the races, taking photos, whatever. Like I got a little bit chilly, but by the end, I was taking my I was taking my jacket off and my hoodie and whatever else. So yeah, it wasn't awful, but it was hard to. Like I said, I posted on my Facebook page, my personal page, and it was hard to believe the next day it was going to be 80. Like leaving Port Royal with the wipers on and 50, sunny and 80 the next day. Like
Yeah.
no way,
It was
no
so
way,
weird.
bro. It was
Yeah.
the weirdest thing. But I got home, it was dry, and it was 56. It was 50 in Port Royal. So
Yeah.
an hour and a half south, it was already almost 60 degrees, and I felt like it was getting warmer as the night went on. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
So, but it worked out.
And I, everywhere else pretty much canceled on Saturday. Lincoln canceled Saturday, BAPS canceled Saturday, PATH canceled after their heat races.
They tried.
Qualification races.
Bridgeport ended up canceling. Pretty much everywhere in the area except for Delaware still ran. But they were kind of outside of the target area of the weather. So I commend Port for, and Danny said it on his Twitter, and I totally agree with him. They probably took a loss. It wasn't a bad crowd, but it wasn't a great crowd for a 15 grand to win show. Probably because of the weather, and they have flow and everything. But I love that they still went through with it, and I thought you had 3 great races. The 410 feature wasn't the best that we know Port Royal can be, but it was still good. And then they got rewarded yesterday with the Lucas Oil. It looked like they had a packed crowd yesterday with the good weather for the Lucas Oil race. So, they also pushed I was kind of surprised, not that surprised, because Port doesn't dick around usually unless it's a big race. But 8:00 they're lining up the feature.
Yep.
8:00 now. The feature ended up lasting 45 minutes because of all the reds, but yeah. So shout out to Port for giving it a shot and being willing to take that loss on Saturday for they had a lot of stuff planned, some stuff planned with it, with like autograph sessions, everything, and Keith Kaufman was there and all that. So I appreciate them being willing to take the loss and do that for everybody.
And that's one of those things that we talked to Jimmy. They take a loss here, maybe, but it builds trust for down the road when you see those iffy weathers. You don't want to get halfway to Port and they cancel.
Right.
Like, that happens sometimes, right? Rainstorm, thunderstorm. But at least they're going to try. They're going to give it their best effort. And if they say we're racing, make an effort to get there, because they're going to make an effort to see racing unless monsoon, like Tuscarora 50 happens, which obviously that's different. So.
Jeff, I brought enough Port dirt home on my truck to grow potatoes. Someone actually commented on my car today and said, "Why is it red?" Because my car is so caked with clay right now. That's true. I feel it. And Tyler said yesterday they pushed the show back an hour and we're still done 9:30 on a Sunday. So yeah, shout out to them. A big show, a lot of cars. I mean, it kind of helps with late models. They can kind of keep them going, staging, since they don't need pushed, but I don't feel like pushing adds that much time. So yeah, they just keep it moving. Let's touch real quickly. We're getting on the 2-hour mark here, so let's just quickly wrap things up. High limit on Tuesday. Riverside Speedway, the ditch, was a little controversial with they did time trials, and then I guess water comes up from underneath because of the river nearby, which from the drone shots I didn't see any river, but I'm not there. But the water moisture came up to the point where it was puddling on the track, like just out of nowhere, and they had a hard time getting it ran in. It was very choppy. It was not very. People were questioning the safety. Didn't really make for the best racing, but you're going to have that. They had a packed grandstand there. I mean, that place was jam packed for a Tuesday night. And Corey Day ends up winning, probably, because it was kind of like a California trek at that point where it was just fast around the top and rough. So that wasn't that rough, I guess, but but still, it was just there was no grip anywhere because of either the moisture or whatever. Um, the safety things though, because of the catch fence, which is like chicken wire. Like I can't remember who went out of the park, hit the light pole. There's that catch fence ain't catching anything. They
Some
can't even call it
WWE
catch
stuff,
fence, it's
man.
a fence. So there's definitely some questions there. What'd you guys see?
Same.
I mean, in the corners just don't have a fence, but you got to have more. If you don't even have to have it there, right? There's no fans out there. I know why it's there, but if it's going to be that useless, now maybe it'll catch a street stock that just bumps up against the wall. But
Right.
a sprint car, it's not built for that clearly. So just don't have one, and you don't have this question. But you can't have the same kind of fencing that are protecting fans. It's unacceptable in this era, and it's a straightaway. I get it, but you just can't have it happen. You cannot have the fans be put at risk because you're just can't do it, can't afford it, don't want to do it, don't know. I don't care that he went through the fence in the corner because it's not a fence. That's obviously just chicken wire, but don't have one over there, right? We have some plenty of tracks that don't have walls, let alone fences. Don't put a fence there then. Just don't have it. What's it catching? It's not going to catch anything anyway. But you can't have that same level of fencing that are protecting fans. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and not for big cars. I mean, this isn't they got high limit, and then they have a 2-race weekend with Outlaws later this year.
That's what I say.
So
they got to figure that out.
They got to figure it out because I mean, you look at that the fencing on the front stretch, even as they were under a red flag or whatever, you start seeing that then, and you start second guessing it. It's like this literally looks like chicken wire. Like it doesn't. It's not going to protect anything.
We could walk up and push it over.
They'd have been better off not having to fix the damn corner. Just leave it go. There's not going to do anything anyway. Same thing happens the second time. The same result. Car ain't going to stop the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely some things to look at if you're going to have a national series there, let alone both of the big national sprint car series. I don't know, but racing feature turned out okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
It's all right. Corey Day just keeps proving that he's very talented. It's beyond just him being a California driver and a California style track. He's just very talented.
Yes.
Someone in the comments already, and I saw it too. He won an asphalt late model.
His first
race.
one ever.
Right.
Helps he was in a junior motorsports car, but
sure,
still,
that definitely
just to jump in the car and go win.
But
it's nuts.
He's on fire, and I think it's gonna be cool to see how he progresses through the summer as he gets more and more seat time, more and more of the grind. Though that part comes into this a little bit that we talked about before. Outlaw Tour, High Limit Tour, whatever. You're on the tour, so you're gonna start have a couple bad nights. How's that play? I think he's gonna be fine. He has a good supporting cast with that team and everything, but he's definitely turning some heads right now.
So here's just came to me, and for you, and I don't have any inside knowledge, so I don't really know. There's probably people in this chat way more educated on this than I am. But there were years where Outlaws wouldn't go to certain tracks, and these sanctioning bodies wouldn't go to certain tracks until the facility was up to a standard, right? And said, "Hey, you get your facility at X and do X, we'll come there." How are the Outlaws going to a place like that? And did they change their standards? Did something change? Now, High Limit can do what they want. They're their own decision makers. But I know I've heard that over the years. Automotive Speedway. Hey, do X and you get a show. Or these other places didn't have one. Do X and you get a show. This place gets a show because
I'm just wondering if maybe they didn't know.
Look at how packed. No, they know.
No, there's no way.
They know they're gonna.
Now they
look
know.
How packed the grandstands are. The same thing with in Pennsylvania, you're gonna get a good crowd no matter where you go. You can go to fucking.
Was that a big grandstand though? Because it's packed. Was it a big grandstand?
But
probably
still,
the same as Babs, I would say.
Yeah,
maybe a little less.
I mean, you still had.
Mitch was saying only last July, so
and you're probably charging $40 a head, just for general admission, and people are coming out for it. So, I think it's good to give other tracks an opportunity. Look, they're going to Selinsgrove, this year too. That's a new one for them that they haven't been since the 80s. And I think you got to mix it up. You got to change the schedule a little bit. But I'm with you though, because it was a big conversation a couple of years ago where it was like you got to have certain safety, you got to check certain boxes in order to get us. Are they lowering that standard a little bit now, or we just what's going on?
Again, there's probably people in the know more than we know, right? That could answer that question, but just seems to go against what I've heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
I
agree.
agree.
But I think a track like that, though, having a big show can help make those improvements. You just hope
Sure.
that they, when they make a profit, which they
Put it back on
should,
the
if
track.
they have good, decent weather and you have a series like that, put it back into the track. We kind of talked about that. We kind of, I don't want to say slammed, but we talked about that Williams Grove plenty of times on the show before, way back. Put the money back in the track, and they've been starting to do that as well. So, yeah. So let's go into this weekend. Preview it real quick. Local shows: Williams Grove Outlaw tune-up with
358s.
358s, and then Lincoln Outlaw tune-up with 358s. I think.
Probably, yeah, that would make sense.
Yes.
So time trial shows, Outlaw format, I believe. I don't know if do they do a dash in
They
the,
don't do a dash, at least at the
they don't do a
Grove.
dash.
Past years.
Okay. But they do the time trials and everything and line them up the same way. To get them ready for next week when they come into town. And Port Royal has a 410 super late model and 305 show on Saturday as well. No racing on Sunday. But then we'll have Lincoln next week in the middle of the week, and we start getting into some big stuff here in May. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going well, I'm not going anywhere locally if I do go anywhere this weekend. Jay-Z, are you going to Williams Grove Friday or no? No
Maybe.
racing?
I mean, we'll see. I don't think I can do anything Saturday. Some prior commitments anywhere. So if the weather's good Friday, you might see me at Williams Grove. But that's 50-50 at this point. It's only Monday. Pretty early in the week for me. I don't plan that far ahead. I just know I'm going to be at Lincoln next Wednesday, and I'll be at the Grove Friday and Saturday next week. So
Hell yeah.
that's what I do know.
Yeah.
I will be there, and I'll hopefully be at Lincoln by noon or 1 o'clock. Some kegs and eggs in the parking lot at Lincoln, and start the day early and watch some racing.
Hell yeah. Chris, where are you going to be? Baps?
No.
Oh.
So Sportsmen's are at Sealands Grove on Saturday. So there's a shot that I'm there. I gotta see if my buddy Eric is racing or not. Otherwise, we'll see. Williams Grove Fridays probably on the card. That's probably my return to my homeland. Make an appearance there.
Look at you.
And then next week, to be determined. I know next week for sure. Baps on Saturday, not the Morgan Cup. Go see that Racing for Outreach race makeup feature with the Wingless Sportsman. Plus, they have the regular show, plus Sportsman's. Jeremy's face says it all. I'm driving right past Williams Grove to do it, too. I'm going to wave at you when I do it next May 11th.
You're a weirdo, bro.
I know. Potentially next week, Lincoln, Williams Grove. Sounds like Lincoln's on the calendar right now. We'll see how that materializes over the week. But if I go to Lincoln, maybe not Friday. We'll see. Pretty free the next 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Cool. Action Track opens this Sunday. Myself, I maybe, it depends. The weather doesn't look great. We'll be going west to Eldora for Let's Race 2 for World of Outlaws and USAC.
He's a big time crew member now, guys.
Yeah, tagging along with Paragos. I always wanted to go to Eldora, so they're letting me come out if the weather holds up. Now, if the weather looks like it is right now, we're probably not going out. I'm not going to make the trip out there. His plan is right now Eldora Friday and then go race Boss on Saturday at Wayne County Speedway. So I'll get to see 2 tracks if we do go. But I'm excited for that opportunity. I got to go with them last year to, Silver Crown in Springfield and all that. So, yeah. So thank you. I hope I do. I hope I do love Eldora if I do get to go. So we'll see. Like I said, weather right now, it's like 88% chance of rain all weekend. So kind of bummed, excited. At the same time. I don't want to get overly excited and then be bummed.
Do they haul Parago's car in an open trailer out there?
No. He has a real car. No. It goes in the box.
Goes in the box.
Because if it's open trailer, I'm going to sneak my way into the driver's seat and just ride in the driver's seat in the car in the open trailer with you guys. I don't need to. I won't cost anything. Just smuggle me into the cage. Just sit me down in the seat and I'll ride there. But no, Okay.
That's something I should do, Randy. I should probably go. That's Sunday morning, I think. That fish fry for Gary Wolford at the MMR. I should probably look at that. See if I can make that happen. Because I was looking at that and I just never planned anything for it. That'd be fun.
So yeah, that's the racing this weekend. High Limit is at 81 Speedway in Kansas on Wednesday, and then they have a back-to-back Lakeside Friday and Saturday, which ends in a $50,000 to win race on Saturday at Lakeside. That should bring out a lot of cars in that area, and also coincides with NASCAR out there. So that should, I like how High Limit's been doing that. It worked really well at Texas. I'm sure it'll work well here. And then, like I said, World of Outlaws is Let's Race 2 weekend at Eldora with USAC 410. It's Friday and Saturday, obviously, weather permitting. And I think that's really it, major stuff.
Just for Dakota.
Hi, Dakota.
Hi, Dakota. You like this?
Girthy.
So, closing thoughts. You want to do Drink It and Dump It before we go, real quick?
Yeah.
Drink It and Dump It is something we try to do weekly. We kind of forget about it, but Drink It is, thumbs up to somebody who deserves some kudos from this past weekend, and dump it to somebody who had a tough one.
I'm going to go first.
In the chat. Go ahead.
Going first. I want to drink it and dump it to Jay Fantasy for being out of his box, take the wing off, and he's been working at that when the sportsman stuff, going up there wingless, ran super impressive through the heats, into the feature up until he spun around. So drink it up for him for doing that. I want more of those guys to do it. I tried to bully Eric Russ into doing it, but he had a concert to go to. Weirdo. So drink it and dump it for him. Jay Fantasy. Jimmy, I left you a good one.
You
go ahead. I got plenty. So I got plenty of content for this one this week. Jimmy, go ahead.
Brandon Zirk says here, drink it to Port Royal Speedway. I agree. That's definitely one. Drink it to Craig Perigo with the win, and Carmen with the second place. Just the whole Perigo clan. And then dump it to Chase Dietz. Man, thought he was going to get that. It would have been cool for first big race at Port Royal. He is leading the points there, I think, still, but blows that left rear. And would have been cool to see that Zemco 1 back in victory lane with Chase, who's a good guy, and only a handful of races really here, at Port Royal this year, and looks strong every week. So he'll get it soon, but dump it out for him. Tough weekend.
Troy Wagaman Jr. drink it for sure. Another win. I agree with Port Royal Speedway. Thank you so much for putting the effort forward. Hope you didn't lose your ass on it. I love getting back up there. They kept the show moving. They do a lot of things right. I really enjoy being there. Baps with a banger. Again. So that was cool. Billy Pouch Jr. got to see Billy Pouch Jr. win in person. I don't know if I've seen that yet. I'm uneducated from the modified world. That was a super popular win. The crowd that was left, the people in victory lane, like you could tell they're just passion for him and his fans and fan base and team. That was cool to witness. So a lot of drink it's for me this weekend. Dump it. There's a few of those as well. So actually another drink it to the field at Williams Grove Speedway because Ryan Wilson started 10th in that feature and ended up backwards exiting 4 on the start of that race, and no one hit him. He was backwards in the middle of the front stretch and nobody hit him. I don't know how. I still don't know how. I don't even know how he got backwards, but he got backwards from 10th position and nobody hit him in the middle of the front stretch at the start.
It's tough.
Wow. Okay. That was it. Dump it. The Dietrichs, they've had a rough few weeks. Billy and Danny. That sucks. Dump it for them for sure. I mean, really, is that it? That's about it, probably, maybe. That's a tough one for me. Yeah, the 39, the trend continues of junking race cars, no matter who's in it, apparently. I like Williamson, Callum. I think he
good.
drives really
He's
hard.
honestly looked good in that car. Just some tough luck.
Definitely drives hard. But the Allseas had a bad weekend. Ryan didn't have a great weekend either.
Yeah.
Ryan Newton didn't have a great weekend. Both the Rabine modifieds didn't have a great night last night at Baps. They both ended up in the pit area, and one of them took a header into the outside wall 4, head first there. So, yeah, that wreck at Port, man, dump it for the people that unfortunately got caught up in it that had nothing to do with it. AJ Flick, heartbroken for him. Just a torn up race car that just shitty timing. Austin Bishop, the car he just won with, is trashed. So that sucks. Lance obviously got dinged up a little bit in that. So obviously Halligan, obviously it looks like wasn't much of his doing. Just a hard hit there. Just a lot of torn up equipment. So a lot of dumpets and really a lot of both. A lot of both this weekend for me. It wasn't easy to pick one. And even with these guys picking different ones, there were more. So
Yeah,
just
in the chat
looking
here.
forward to, it's bad timing to have race cars torn up anytime, but you're going into the big couple weeks here. Hopefully everybody has their stuff back together and ready to go for a big week or two in central Pennsylvania and beyond, really.
Brad Weatherby, Tyler Ross, drink it. Absolutely. 2 back-to-back seconds. Looked really good at BAPS. Almost got a win. Drinking for TJ Stutz. Absolutely. He's been strong lately. We know he's always, he's always been a good time trialer. But he's really shown. I mean, I was shocked. I thought once Macri got past him on Saturday, that was it. But he fought back and stayed there. That kind of at the end, Anthony kind of pulled away a little bit more, but TJ was right there step for step. So looked really good. This is a good one from Daniel. Drink at the Lucas Wolf's consistency lately. Hope for a win for Lucas soon. Absolutely. Dump it for Jeff Halligan's crash at Port. Absolutely. I hope Jeff's okay. He was okay at the time, but you never know after adrenaline and everything. I'm sure he's probably pretty sore.
I actually did text his PR rep later that night or the next morning maybe and asked and checked on Jeff, and seems like he's going to be okay. So seems like he was good. Got out, was shaken up for sure right there, which is understandable. But later that night, or I think it might have been even the next morning, I text Rich and said he was feeling okay. So thank goodness. Yeah, Brandon, nice to meet you, man. This guy walked up beside me in Victory Lane, and I'm like, hey. Hey, yeah, and he's Brandon. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So as I said, I've seen that name come across. So it was nice to meet you for sure. And we've had that happen a lot this year. We've met a lot of the folks that tune in and watch us idiots talk for racing for 2 hours and 8 minutes. So we're done now. Are we done?
Yeah, pretty much. One more, just real quick. Tyler Koenig, friend of the show from last week. Port putting 2 great shows on this weekend, plus my buddy Alyssa Rowe winning her modified heat at Path, and then dump it. Dietrich's bad luck, like you said. But yeah, I was actually thoroughly entertained with the Lucas Oil race, watching it from home. I was going to go back and, other things happened, but started scrambling around once I knew I was going to be going to Eldora. So we are these idiots. Shout out.
My closing thoughts, if we're good, Jimmy. Thursday, Eric Walker, Rolling Podcast, 7 p.m.
I don't have the flyer. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I didn't see it yet. But Eric Walker is going to be fun. I don't know much about him. I know been around. Brett Perigo talks about him once in a while. So it's going to be fun getting to know him. He sounds fun. Trent was fun last week, and I'm looking forward to hearing about Eric Walker this week with Tony, Sharp, and I. It's going to be a good time, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Thursday. Tune in, Rolling Podcast. And we will see you guys next week, hopefully with some races under our belt here. Have a good one.